Here's why I think your instructor might not actually like you. I can tell from a first-hand experience as a flight instructor who's trained over 100 people in person and actually over several hundred people online. And also my instructor buddies, they've told me the same thing as well, is when you have a student that does not prepare well for their flights. And what I mean by that is a student who comes really late and unprepared for the flight. See, as a student, you cannot just show up right at the booking start. If the booking starts at 10 a.m., you cannot show up even 5 or 10 minutes prior. This is an aircraft you're operating. You need to show up a minimum an hour to an hour and a half prior to your flight. You need to get the nav log done. You need to do the weight and balance. When the aircraft comes in, you have to do a walk around. You got to do a whole bunch of preparation and planning. And that's only the preparation and planning on the day of. The night before, a couple of days before your flight, you actually have to read the flight training manual. You have to learn the upper air exercises. You have to do all these things in preparation and spend a couple of hours even prior to your flight even began. Now, some of you might say, well, I'm paying my flight instructor. He or she is actually supposed to teach me. Why do I have to put in all this extra effort? Well, if you think about it, yes, your flight instructor is there to teach you. You're paying your instructor to teach you. However, the burden of learning is actually on you as a student. The instructor, hopefully on the prior lesson, said, okay, Jack, here you go. Okay, Sarah, here you go. This is the material you got to study. You go home, you study, do your homework, so that when you start the next session, your instructor asks you TKT questions, which is threshold knowledge testing questions. It's basically questions to see that you understand the material for the day. The last thing the instructor wants to do is to start all over again and explain everything from scratch and then eat up most of the booking time trying to explain things to you. Because you got to keep in mind, your instructor is there to build flying hours. Selfishly, they want to build flying hours, put it in their logbook so that, they can have the experience to then move on to another job. The last thing they want to do is to spend all that time in a classroom teaching you because you were not prepared. So if you want to be the Model A student, and this is exactly what I did, I wanted to be the best student that the instructor ever had. I showed up 2 hours actually prior to my flight. I was there so early that I got everything prepared, everything studied for. And if the prior aircraft before my flight ever came in, even 15 minutes early, I would jump to that aircraft, do the walk around early, and tell my instructor I was ready to go. And when I got into the classroom prior to my flight for the pre-briefing, my instructor would ask me the questions, and then very quickly I would answer everything really fast to my instructor, and we would go flying, and it was a win-win situation. My instructor got to build the flying time, and I got to get more out of the lesson. Because you got to keep in mind, when the weather is good, you want to make the most out of your lesson, because those days don't always last. There's plenty of days where the weather's not so good, and you wish that the flight was longer. So you want to actually save a lot of money and a lot of time by being prepared. What I personally did was, at home, I would do chair flying. So I'd sit in a chair like this, I would close my eyes and visualize every single flight maneuver. It's a lot cheaper to chair fly when the prop is not spinning than it is to get in the airplane and then have the instructor explain things to you that you should already know. All right, hope that helps.